Okay, at this point, I think that The Acolyte has generated more money for content creators than it did for Disney. Hello, I'm Marvin, and I'm the Movie Monster. If you heard a knockoff version of the Yub Nub song playing around X recently, it was because the Disney Star Wars Defenders were celebrating. You see, they were right all along. The Acolyte was a success. It was the second highest viewed original series on Disney Plus in 2024. So eat it, chuds! You were wrong! Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, Leslie Headland, is a genius, and Kathleen Kennedy is a visionary, ushering Star Wars into a bright and prosperous future with her enlightened leadership. Right?
This is a lie.
It turns out that if you have 100 people in a room watching their choice of content, and 98 of those people watch one thing and 2 people watch something else, that something else is still the number 2 most watched thing in that room.
There are dozens of us. Dozens!
And that's what happened here. These numbers were skimmed off the top of the Luminate 2024 TV and Film Report, a document where the further you read into it, the worse it gets for Disney and Star Wars. Because yes, The Acolyte was the second highest viewed show on the platform, after a show most people have never heard of that actually came out in 2023 before they started counting. And it turns out that none of Disney's content came anywhere remotely close to the top streaming original shows in 2024. Most of those spots went to, surprise, Netflix, with a few going over to Paramount because of Taylor Sheridan, and one going over to Prime, but not for the Rings of Power. But as my friend Lou Wasserman's ghost likes to say, but it gets worse. How much worse? Find out today on Tooneytown TV. All right, guys, we got a fun one for you today, because the Star Wars pixie duster community, the ones that only speak positively about Star Wars, you know, there's more of us than there are of you, those people, the ones that put out that cringy press release video, whatever the heck they put out when the Acolyte first came out, they were holding up this Luminate report, saying that the Acolyte was the second most viewed thing viewed original series, not most viewed thing, because we all know Bluey is the most viewed thing on Disney Plus, even if Disney doesn't want to admit it. But they all wanted to hold this up and tout the fact that Luminate says the Acolyte is a success. But when you actually look at the Luminate report, now I gotta assume either they didn't look at it themselves beyond what they wanted to see, or they were just banking on the fact that you weren't gonna look. But don't worry, guys, because I looked for you. But the second you actually look at what the Luminate report says, I mean, it just gets worse and worse and worse. This article is from, of course, That Park Place, written by myself. And this past weekend, numerous access media outlets and Star Wars-centric content creators celebrated the perceived success of The Acolyte following the release of Luminate's 2024 film and TV report. Headlines and X posts boasted that The Acolyte was Disney Plus' second most watched series of the year, accumulating 2.7 billion minutes of viewership. Now, that might sound good on the surface level. Wow, 2.7 billion minutes. That's a lot of people. Second most viewed thing on Disney Plus. That's fantastic. The Acolyte was a success after all. Eat it, chuds, right? Like, you know, but no, guys, no. That's not what happened here. And if you actually look at the report, which, by the way, is linked right here in the article, you can download it for yourself. It's free. You can see just how bad this gets. But don't worry, we're going to take a look at it together. So when the surface level accolades are set aside and the numbers are examined in greater detail, the supposed victory turns into a major loss and a huge reflection on Disney's ongoing struggle with the Star Wars franchise and Disney Plus as a whole. So, context is key here. Despite the Acolyte ranking as Disney Plus' second most watched series, it didn't crack the top 10 for streaming originals in 2024. That list is dominated by Netflix, which secured 7 of the 10 spots. And the other entries belong to Paramount Plus and Amazon Prime's Fallout. So let's take a look here. We see number 1 here, Fool Me Once from Netflix, Bridgerton from Netflix, Landman, Paramount Plus, The Perfect Couple, Netflix, Tulsa King, Paramount Plus, Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story from Netflix, which I watched. It was actually good. The Gentleman from Netflix, Fallout from Prime Video, Griselda from Netflix, Love is Blind from Netflix. So let's put the Acolyte's performance into perspective. The number 10 spot on the list right here, Love is Blind, 7.38 billion minutes watched. Okay. The Acolyte had what did we say? 2.7 billion. So you look at this, to put this in perspective, the last ranked thing on the top 10 is nearly 3 times as much as the Acolyte's viewership. In other words, Disney Plus's second most watched show of the year couldn't even come close to the lowest performing title in the top 10, which means that not only are Disney's flagship series failing, but they're so far beyond the competition, and Star Wars as a brand is losing its dominant cultural impact. Well, I mean, losing is being generous. It has lost that, and it lost because of the Acolyte. But as I said before, it gets worse. The Acolyte versus Disney Plus competitors. So these are competitors on Disney Plus. The Acolyte standing as Disney Plus's second most watched series becomes even less flattering when compared to the service's number one show of the year, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which beat it by, no small feat. 3.07 billion minutes watched to 2.67 billion minutes watched for the Acolyte. And then after that was Agatha, Echo, X-Men 97, Star Wars The Bad Batch, Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka, which came out in 2023, and then 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. So released on December 19th, 2023, Percy Jackson topped the Disney section of the Luminate 2024 report, even though its premiere wasn't counted toward 2024 numbers. Yes, so Percy Jackson and the Olympians came out on December the 19th. This was started on December the 29th. So when the premiere happened and it got that big spike because people are like, oh, new show, better watch that, it wasn't even counted. So this 3 billion is actually probably a lot higher. It's probably like 3.3, maybe 3.4 billion, which would place it well above the Acolyte. But that those first 10 days are not counted, and we get what we get here. The Acolyte, though, still eating this thing's dust. It wasn't even released in the same year. So even more concerning are the Acolyte's episode by episode viewership trends. Let's take a look at this, guys. All right, so it says here, despite a promising start, Star Wars series, The Acolyte, was canceled by Disney and Lucasfilm shortly after its first season finale. While mixed fan reactions were likely a factor, viewership for the show had waned. That's putting it lightly. We're about to see. With significant decreases after the first 2 episodes and into the finale. And Star Wars Skeleton Crew hadn't fared much better, with only 1 live-action Star Wars series set for 2025, which is Andor. Disney should consider retooling its strategy to address the franchise's diminishing returns. This is from Luminate, by the way. Luminate is partially owned by like Variety or something like that. I mean, it's a shill outlet. So, but it's reporting numbers, and you can't shill with numbers, guys. So let's take a look here where we can see what happened. So this dark purple here, that is the first episode. So that first episode got up to almost 2.5 million minutes watched. The second episode, which I might add, released on the same exact day, got just a little over 1.5 million. So nearly a million minutes less for the second episode, the day that it came out. And then let's watch. Crash, and drag into the dirt. Now here's the third episode, called Destiny. It debuted just underneath the second episode. So maybe a bunch of people that stayed, that watched the second episode, that stayed from 1 to 2, stuck around for 3, and then boom, bang, crash, drag. Then we go to the fourth episode, even lower than the third one, and boom, bang, crash, drag. Fifth episode, which, I mean, I don't remember if it was the third episode that was the flashback episode, or if that was the fourth, but either way, there was a major, a major fall right after that. So fifth episode, boom, bang, crash, drag. Sixth episode actually goes up. I think people were hearing about all the terrible things that was supposed to happen in the 6th and 7th episode, and curiosity got the better of a few folks. Doesn't ever reach the level of the third episode again, but exceeds the fourth episode. So we get a little bit more for 6. We get a bit more for 7. And then on the 8th episode, the series finale, at the time, the season finale, Crash. The lowest viewed episode of the season, guys. And you can see, because this measures it from its premiere date, we were up here and then we're all the way down here, and bang, boom, crash, drag. It's just this. It's the this is where you should have a spike. I mean, this is your finale, right? And if it was any good, guys, even if it started here, if the finale was any good, we would have seen it go up. Because people would have been like, hey, the finale is actually good. Luke Skywalker showed up or whatever. And people would have been like, oh my God, really? And they would have gone and watched. Not that I wanted Luke Skywalker to show up in this show. I was upset enough that Darth Plagueis and Yoda showed up. Spoilers. But clearly you guys aren't going to watch this anyway, so you don't care about spoilers because look at the numbers. But yeah, the finale is the lowest rated episode of this show. That is disgustingly bad. So now it gets so much worse even more. When you compare the Acolyte's performance to other Disney Plus Star Wars series, it gets even bleaker. The canceled show fell well short of Ahsoka, a series that itself was considered a disappointment. And while it performed better than Skeleton Crew, Disney's latest Star Wars show on the platform, that's also not something to celebrate. So look, here's the Ahsoka numbers, right? Ahsoka starts all the way up here in like the 400 million minutes. Week 1, week 2, it spikes up well up over 1 billion and then crashes week 3 and then has a bit of a rally around week 4 and 5. But now here's the important thing. See, the finale of Ahsoka here is actually higher than the first episode. That's what you want, right? Let's take a look at the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. The Acolyte starts here and it ends all the way down here in its first 5 weeks. And then Skeleton Crew starts all the way down here and barely moves. That line is almost like, other than this little tiny hump here, that line is straight. I mean, guys, that's insane, right? Like, it's completely insane. So what you're seeing here is Ahsoka pissed people off and fewer people tuned in for the Acolyte. Maybe they didn't like what the Acolyte was offering, but after the Acolyte, people stopped tuning in. The apathy set in. These are apathy numbers, guys. This is the bare minimum of what Star Wars can do and survive, these Skeleton Crew numbers. So, but you know what? You never underestimate just how willing the Star Wars shills are to step up to the plate for this atrocious woman. This Kathleen Kennedy, the Wicked Witch of the West. Never underestimate how much they will bend the truth and bend over backwards to try to make this woman a success, because it's disgusting. It really is. You know what? Let's take a look at some of them. Drinking from my cup. I think this is going to be pretty good. Oh, but I'm just going to take another sip just because, you know, I don't know if I have to do a quick spit take here. It's Star Wars.
Wait,
good thing
what?
I had my cup there to catch my spit take. This is for Star Wars Outlaws, by the way. Let's take a look at the crew. Blonde Wave over here.
Hold on, Nick.
Oh, no.
That's a Sarlacc! We've never seen a Sarlacc before. Yeah, except for the beginning of Jedi Fallen Order, except for Return of the Jedi, except for The Mandalorian. The Sarlaccs are The Force Unleashed. I mean, we have seen Sarlaccs in everything. And this guy's like, that's a Sarlacc! Like we have to just pretend to be amazed by it's like the parent in a child's birthday party when the magician very clearly pulls the ace of spades out of his sleeve and the parent's like, whoa, where'd that come from? That's a Sarlacc.
Star Wars Outlaws pre-order available now.
My absolute favorite over Star Wars Outlaws. Come on, people. All right, so there you guys have it. What do you guys think? I mean, are you surprised by the actual numbers for the Acolyte reported now by a third-party source? That has nothing to do with Disney. Like, and just the unbelievable self-own that these people had. Just absolutely exquisite. Chef's kiss. Perfect. Sound off in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. I'll never understand the Star Wars pixie duster need for the Acolyte to be viewed as a success. It was perhaps the most reviled piece of Star Wars media of all time. Worse even than the Christmas special. At least that has a it's so bad it's good vibe to it. There's nothing redeeming or fun about the Acolyte. It's a terribly written, horribly directed, and atrociously acted mess that fails on every conceivable level. And these spit-take doing wah screaming Sarlacc spotters are desperate to claim that it's good. So much so that they held up a document to prove their point without realizing that said document actually proves the exact opposite. The Luminate Report shatters the pixie duster narrative about the Acolyte, but it's really the gift that just keeps on giving, because it also shatters the narrative surrounding Agatha All Along, Echo, and Rings of Power. But that's a video for later in the week. Thanks for joining us today, and a special thanks goes out to our Tooneytown TV channel members. You guys are the heart and soul of this channel, and for that we thank you with exclusive content like Crime and Punishment, our true crime podcast hosted by myself and Trish, and our members-only live stream on Mondays at 3 p.m. EST. So if you are not a member of the Tooneytown TV channel, join today. Oh, and make sure you're joining us Thursday nights live at 8 p.m. EST for Tooney Talk TV, our live stream pop culture podcast where you can interact with me directly and make your voices heard as a part of the Tooneytown community. If you liked what you saw here today, please like, share, and subscribe. Click that bell icon to get notified of new videos as they drop from all of us here at the Tooneytown channels. I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here!